One of history's most powerful emperors tried to silence an economist, not because he led an army, but because he challenged how governments create wealth. Jean-Baptiste Say believed prosperity doesn't begin in a palace, a parliament, or a printing press. It begins with ordinary people building businesses. That simple idea was so threatening that Napoleon removed him from public office. Why? Because if Say was right, lasting wealth couldn't be commanded from above. In this episode, you'll discover the business principles that made Say one of history's most influential economic thinkers, why entrepreneurs, not politicians, drive prosperity, and how his ideas can change the way you think about money, investing, and opportunity today. It all starts with understanding the remarkable man behind the philosophy. Jean-Baptiste Say was born in France in 1767 and lived through one of history's most turbulent periods. He witnessed revolution, inflation, war, economic collapse, and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. Unlike many intellectuals of his era, Say didn't spend his career studying abstract theories from a distance. He became both an economist and a businessman, operating a successful cotton spinning mill while refining his ideas about markets and entrepreneurship. His book, A Treatise on Political Economy, spread across Europe and America, influencing generations of economists and business leaders. Yet outside academic circles, his name is surprisingly unfamiliar. That's unfortunate because his greatest lesson isn't about economics at all. It's about how wealth is actually created. Most people believe money creates businesses. Say argued businesses create money. Imagine drawing two boxes connected by an arrow. The first box is labeled production. The second is labeled income. Most people accidentally reverse those boxes. Say insisted the order matters. Before anyone can earn, save, invest, or consume, someone must first create something valuable. A farmer grows wheat. A carpenter builds furniture. A programmer writes software. An engineer designs machines. Wealth begins when human effort transforms resources into something customers willingly buy. Money simply measures that exchange. Once you flip this mental model, you'll start evaluating every business, investment, and opportunity through an entirely different lens. That new perspective changes how opportunities appear. While others focused on products, Say focused on coordination. He believed entrepreneurs performed a unique job that few people appreciated. Picture an orchestra before the conductor arrives. Every musician is talented, but together they produce only noise. The entrepreneur becomes the conductor, bringing together labor, materials, machines, capital, knowledge, and customers into a profitable system. That's where value is created. Say looked for disconnected pieces waiting to be organized better than anyone else. Today's startups follow the same principle. Companies like Uber didn't invent cars, drivers, or passengers. They organized existing resources more efficiently. The biggest opportunities often aren't hidden inventions, they're better combinations. The question then becomes, how do you repeat that success consistently? Say's approach wasn't based on chasing lucky ideas. It was a repeatable operating system. First, identify a real customer problem. Second, organize the people and resources needed to solve it. Third, produce efficiently enough to earn a profit. Finally, reinvest part of those profits into becoming even more productive. Imagine a flywheel that spins faster with every successful cycle. Consider a small woodworking shop earning a $40 profit on each table while producing 50 tables monthly, generating $2,000 in profit. If improved equipment increases output to 80 tables without proportionally increasing costs, profit grows because productivity improves, not because prices rise. That simple flywheel became the foundation of long-term wealth creation. Throughout his life, Say followed several principles that still read like advice from a successful entrepreneur today. Produce before you consume. Invest before you celebrate. Solve problems before expecting profits. Reward innovation, not protection. Imagine 3 buckets labeled spend, save, and reinvest. Most struggling businesses pour nearly everything into the first bucket. Successful businesses continually enlarge the third. Picture 2 identical companies earning $100,000 annually. One owner spends every dollar beyond expenses. The other reinvests $20,000 each year into equipment, employees, and better processes. After 5 years, the gap becomes enormous. But Say's philosophy would soon face its greatest test when it collided directly with Napoleon himself. Ideas are easy when everyone agrees with you. The real test comes when powerful people don't. Napoleon believed a strong nation required strong government control over the economy. Say believed prosperity came from millions of individuals making voluntary decisions in free markets. Their disagreement became personal when Napoleon demanded revisions to Say's writings that better supported imperial policy. Say refused. He was dismissed from his government position and effectively silenced politically. Instead of retreating, he entered manufacturing and became a partner in a cotton spinning mill. Suddenly, his theories faced reality every single day. Managing workers, machinery, raw materials, inventory, and customers proved something remarkable. His philosophy wasn't merely academic, it actually worked in business. Running a manufacturing business wasn't a smooth ride. Say experienced supply shortages, changing markets, political instability, and the constant uncertainty that every entrepreneur eventually encounters. Rather than blaming outside forces, he separated problems into two circles. The outer circle contained events he couldn't control: wars, regulations, competitors, and economic downturns. The inner circle contained everything he could improve: quality, efficiency, costs, customer relationships, and innovation. That's where he concentrated his energy. Imagine two identical bakeries during a recession. One cuts quality to save money and loses customers. The other redesigns products, reduces waste, and improves service. Same economy, different decisions, different outcomes. That mindset shaped every important choice he made afterward. Say rarely asked, "Will this make money?" Instead, he asked, "Will this create value?" That subtle difference changed everything. Imagine a simple triangle with 3 questions at each corner. Does this solve a real problem? Will customers willingly pay for it? Can the process become more efficient over time? If any corner failed, the opportunity weakened. Consider a machine costing $10,000 that saves $5,000 annually in labor and material waste. Ignoring maintenance, the investment pays for itself in roughly 2 years before continuing to increase profits. That's productive thinking rather than speculative thinking. Every decision became a calculation about creating more value tomorrow than exists today. Most people, however, completely missed the biggest implication of his philosophy. Say's most misunderstood insight became known as Say's Law, although many people oversimplified what he actually meant. His point wasn't that every product automatically sells. It was that production creates the income needed to purchase other products. Imagine a simple exchange between 4 businesses. A farmer sells wheat to a baker. The baker sells bread to a restaurant. The restaurant serves customers. Employees earn wages and buy goods from other businesses. Production starts the entire cycle. Without someone creating value first, nothing else happens. Modern economies are far more complex, but the principle remains surprisingly relevant. Long-term prosperity depends far more on increasing productive capacity than simply encouraging people to spend more money. If Say were advising a new entrepreneur today, his framework would probably look surprisingly modern. Step 1. Find an unmet customer problem instead of chasing a trendy idea. Step 2. Organize people, technology, and capital into an efficient system. Step 3. Measure results relentlessly and remove waste. Step 4. Reinvest profits into improving productivity rather than expanding your lifestyle. Picture climbing a staircase instead of riding an elevator. Each improvement becomes the next platform for growth. A landscaping company that reinvests in better equipment, scheduling software, and employee training often grows faster than one simply adding more workers. Small improvements, repeated consistently, create extraordinary long-term advantages. More than 200 years later, Say's ideas appear almost everywhere, even when people don't realize it. Every startup building better software, every manufacturer improving automation, and every small business finding more efficient ways to serve customers follows the same underlying principle: create more value than you consume. Research from organizations like the OECD and World Bank continues to show that productivity growth remains one of the strongest drivers of rising living standards over time. Technology changes, markets evolve, customer expectations shift, but businesses still succeed for the same fundamental reason they did in Say's lifetime: they organize resources better than their competitors. The remaining question is which of Say's ideas belong to history and which need updating for today's economy. Not every recommendation from Say's era should be copied exactly. The early 19th century had limited global competition, slower communication, fewer regulations, and almost no digital technology. A manufacturer could spend weeks waiting for information that arrives on your phone in seconds today. Modern entrepreneurs must navigate cybersecurity, intellectual property, artificial intelligence, global supply chains, and rapidly changing customer expectations. Yet this 9-1 underlying principle hasn't changed. The tools evolve, but productive thinking remains timeless. Instead of asking, how would Jean-Baptiste Say run a cotton mill today, ask, how would he use today's technology to create even more value with fewer resources? That's the adaptation that matters. Imagine Say launching a business in the age of artificial intelligence. He probably wouldn't ask whether AI replaces jobs. He'd ask how AI helps entrepreneurs produce more value. Picture a simple equation on a whiteboard. Human knowledge plus AI tools plus entrepreneurial judgment equals greater productivity. AI can draft reports, analyze data, automate repetitive tasks, and accelerate research. But someone still has to recognize opportunities, understand customers, make decisions, and organize resources into a profitable business. That's the entrepreneur's role, the same role Say described over 200 years ago. Technology changes the tools, but entrepreneurs remain the conductors who turn individual capabilities into lasting economic value. If you remembered only one lesson from Jean-Baptiste Say, let it be this: wealth follows value creation. Money isn't the starting point, it's the scoreboard. Imagine planting an apple tree. You don't count apples before the tree grows. You first nurture the roots, strengthen the trunk, and care for the branches. The fruit arrives later, as the natural result. Businesses work the same way. Focus first on solving meaningful problems, improving productivity, delighting customers, and reinvesting in better systems. Revenue, profits, and long-term wealth become the harvest. The entrepreneurs who build lasting fortunes almost always understand this sequence better than everyone around them. Jean-Baptiste Say challenged one of the most powerful rulers in history with nothing more than an idea. More importantly, he challenged a belief that still traps many people today, the belief that wealth begins with money. Instead, he argued that wealth begins with production, innovation, and people willing to create value for others. Before making your next financial or business decision, ask yourself one question: am I trying to capture value, or am I creating it? That single question can change how you invest, build businesses, choose careers, and recognize opportunities for the rest of your life. If you enjoyed uncovering the forgotten thinkers who shaped modern business, continue with our next episode and discover another remarkable mind whose ideas still influence wealth creation today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.